Song, 7 minutes past 11 a.m. You're in a classic lounge on a Friday. It is the 15th month of April 2024. My name is Faith, and today is a special show. And I will tell you why. I did mention yesterday that we're going to have a special guest on the show today, and he is here. I have somebody that's, before this administration was known as a renowned journalist. I have in the studio Mr. Bayo Onanuga. He is the special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Faith.
Okay, so we have a lot to cover. I'm going to try to do that within the confines of the time that we have. But we're going to first just start up talking about the new student loan that was signed into law by the president. Okay, we knew that this was something that was proposed before, and it was signed last year. Then the president sent the letter for it to be repealed and reenacted, adding a few more steps and taking some things out as well. Some things that people considered impediments. Actually, I was looking at the changes they were taking out, and it's now made open to all without the conditions and the caveats that the former, carried. But one of the things that, I noted also was that there was no time specified for a launch. Is that going to happen, anytime soon? And what more information do you think we need to have about the students' loan?
Well, I think let me just say that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, during the campaign, he campaigned vigorously that when he gets into office, he was going to offer student loan. Not just student loan, we talk about also what they call a consumer loan, so that if you want to buy a house or you want to buy a car, you don't need to put down all the cash. And he is very concerned about students. He kept saying all through the campaign, there are 4 years, it will be 4 years for students, or if you are going for a 3-year program, 3 years will be 3 years. And that's what is implementing. And that's why from day one, just in June or so, 2023, he signed the first law on student loan. But after a thorough review, people find that no, the law at that time, the way it was cast, there was no way it was going to be implemented. It was not implementable. There are so many flaws there, and it would not have fulfilled what the president has in mind about providing money for students so that they can have easy access to education and they can be able to pay their way all through school. And even along the line, you also mentioned that the loan should be extended to those who are going for vocational skills, because not everybody wants to go to university or polytechnic or college of education. So there are others who want to just go and learn some skills, and they should not be excluded as well. So it was clear at that time that the loan had to go back for, the law had to go back for remolding. And that's what led to the executive bill that the Senate and that's already passed. And that's the law as we have it today. So many things have been, as you mentioned, so many things have been removed. For instance, under the old law, if your parent is earning about 45,000 naira a month, you are not entitled to a loan. And that means that loan is not meant for the poor people. And the president has in mind children of the poor whose parents may not be able to afford university education or any tertiary education for their children. So that has been taken off. The loan, the initial law also spoke about if your parent had been delinquent in servicing a loan before, you are not entitled. That one is also out. And it's not now talking about just tuition fee, it's talking about the upkeep of students and so on. So many things have been introduced that will help our students to access the loan. And I think everybody have a good ride when they went to school. They don't need to be looking at how they're going to get money to buy food or to buy books and things like that. I think all those things have been taken care of under the new law.
Fantastic. Yes. So those are some of the things that I noted as well. But there's something in this new law that talks about, 2 years after NYSC, right? So if we are going to be looking at the data that we have, leaving out the a new sort of system that the MBS uses now. From the OCM, we know that it was about 33 percent of unemployed people. If you look at the new one that talks about 4%, talks about how many hours of work and all that, sort of that is considered. That's why it was reviewed to that, saying that it was international standard. But what it also still means is that we have a lot of young people who do not have jobs. So if you're saying that 2 years after NYC, people should start repaying this, is this realistic when you look at what the economy is saying and what our society is?
Well, the economy is not static. I'm hopeful that in the next few years, we are going to have a great rebound.
Do we make policies based on hope?
So I believe that we are marching into an era of prosperity. So let's not say there will be no jobs, there will be jobs. But the law has taken care of that. In case a student comes out of school, he has a loan overhead or something that he has to pay, and he has not gotten a job after 2 years, all he needs to do is to let the NEL fund know that he has not gotten a job yet, and then he'll be given another time to start paying. It's not compulsory; must pay at the expiration of 2 years.
Okay.
There's a leeway for you can apply and say, "I've not gotten a job yet," but if he has gotten a job, or if he's self-employed and is lying to the NEL fund, then it stands the chance of being arrested, being tried for lying and things like that.
3 years.
And you go to jail.
Yes, because if that is not the case, what it also means is that you might have a lot of people not being able to pay. So is that now a sustainable system?
I think the terms are very liberal. I think there's already there something for the loan for the borrower to ask for extension of time before starting to pay.
Okay.
I think it's there. This is more like it doesn't have the encumbrances of loan maybe that you find in US or something like that. It's liberal. It's going to be liberal.
Okay.
And of course, it can even be written off.
Interesting, can be written off. Okay, so yes, thank you for sitting through the news, sir. Let's get on back to the conversation, and we will start off now with the Orosayo report. One of the things, I find it very interesting because one of the things that this administration, has prided itself is, we take the tough decisions. We go where nobody else wants to go, and we just dig our heel in and we get it done. And so the Orosayo report was one of those things that was like, oh my God, this is different. Other administrations that sort of talked about it, but walked past, and the Tinubu administration talked about implementing this, and particularly put out information about what the presidency was doing about the Orosayo reports, the committees that were set up, and things like that. I'm going to ask you, of course, the stage that this is in right now, because I know they were supposed to take a few weeks to work on this.
12 weeks.
12 weeks.
Yeah.
So we have how many more weeks to look at this? 4?
Well, I think I've spent about 4 weeks or so. So
okay.
We should wait till almost the first anniversary of the administration. Also know how many agencies are going to be scrapped or subsumed or things like that. So the committee, is headed by the SGF, and has I think about many members. So the committee is working, and I'm sure by the expiration of the 12 weeks, it should have come out with something.
Okay, when you put out the information, you listed some of the committees that would be scrapped, merged, or subsumed, and all of that. One of the agencies that you listed was NACA, right? You talked about NACA being merged with NSCDC, right? But I mean, for an agency that will be merged with the NCDC, why do we have the president now appointing, another DG to take it over for a 5-year tenure? So does it mean that it is no longer going to be merged?
No, it doesn't mean so. At the point of merger, that it should be resolved. And I think I remember the case of NACA, when the appointment was made, the attention of the president was drawn to it that, this is one of the agencies that's supposed to merge with NCDC, that's the Nigerian
National Center for Disease Control
and things like that. And I think his instruction was that the appointment should be put on hold.
So it's on hold right now?
Yeah, that's the information I had, that it has been put on hold. And I think there's another point like that. That's also one of the agencies that's already set for other merger or things like that. I think he said he should put them on hold.
Okay, because I was also going to ask you about, Governor Zulum appealing to the president that the Nigerian Army University should not be merged, with the NDA, and that is supposed to be one of the mergers, that you announced as well. So, are we saying that all of the agencies and the ministries that we heard about mergers and everything, we should just maybe jettison that old information and wait until the committee is done?
Yeah,
Is that what should happen now?
I think it's better that way. The committee is because when a recommendation is made and then government says, "Oh, go ahead and perfect all these things," they will come across new information and why X should not be done and so on and so forth. That's why I said it's better for us to wait. Let's wait for that 12 weeks, and at the end of it, we know where government is really going. But this government is actually very desirous in making sure it cuts the cost of governance. And that's what the president has been doing, is sending out messages that is really desirous of cutting costs. You can see the recent pronouncement that bans travel for some months and so on. So it's cost-cutting measures. Even the number of people following the president on tours and things like that, all about cutting the cost of governance.
You talk about cutting the cost, so that makes me wonder if the RSI report was it an afterthought after the president got in, because in appointing ministers, this president appointed more ministers than other presidents since 1999. That is true, and also he created some more ministries as well. So when you're talking about cutting the cost of governance, was the RSI report an afterthought? Like, oh, you know what? Now we're here, we're saying this, because the appointments don't indicate that.
No, I don't see any contradiction in that. You see what the president has done. Look. Let me give you the example of Ministry of Information. Under President Buhari, we had Ministry of Information, and I think tourism was under it, national orientation was under it. He broke that ministry into three. We have what he now calls Ministry of Culture and Creative Economy, and he also created Ministry of Tourism, separate from Ministry of Information. And then we have Ministry of Information and National Orientation. I think what the president is trying to drive at is more efficiency.
Couldn't they have functioned if they were departments and agencies as opposed to ministries?
As a ministerial unit, the Ministry of Information was too big for one person to handle. I just show you now, we have Ministry of Information and National Orientation, and we have Ministry of Culture and Creative Economy, and we have Ministry of Tourism. One man could not have handled that one.
But I'm looking at...
Lai was there.
Yes.
You see him being torn between having to do his duty as Minister of Information, having to be following tourism all over the place, and having to do national orientation. So it didn't make for efficient. That's what the president felt, that it can be broken into three, and he's done that.
Well, because if you're looking at that...
Look at Ministry of Solid Minerals and Steel Development. Under President Buhari, it was one ministry. The president said, no, let's break into two, solid minerals separate and steel separate. And you can see the man who has been put in charge of solid minerals, the way it's been...
Well, he's up and about, definitely. Yes, but it's just a bit contradictory, because you can't talk about cutting costs of governance and expanding the government. Nigeria has a really big government.
If you expand for efficiency, you cannot fall that. What the president has done is to expand for efficiency. And from what I've seen so far, all those people who have been put in place are doing their best.
From what you've seen, well, it's probably left to the people to now decide if that efficiency is working for them, right? Because the government is for the people.
I can see it on many fronts. Most of the ministers are trying to perform, are trying to outdo themselves to make sure that at least they fulfill their mandate.
Interesting, because there's only one minister that I know that everybody's talking about. That's Interior Minister, because of what is done to turn around what's going on with passports and immigration. The others, not so much. I know that the Minister for Steel, like you said, he's up and about. He's talking about a lot of things. He's seeking investments. The other ministers have been pretty quiet about a lot of things. We have not really felt their impact. Yes, you can say it's maybe too short a time to judge. But the Minister of Interior, he didn't need that much time for the people that he's working for to see that he is working.
Well, I think some of them will not be embracing the limelight like others. They may not. They may be press shy and things like that. But I think all of them are trying to work because they know they have a performance
Review.
Monitoring. Somebody is monitoring them, and somebody is making reports to the president about what they are doing in their respective ministries. And I think the person in charge has even given the president an interim report on the performance of each minister. So they know they are being monitored, and they know that they will lose a lot if they are seen to have underperformed. And I think that's reason. So the internal mechanism is there to ensure that everybody does his work the way it's supposed to be done.
Let's talk about fuel subsidy for a minute, right? I think I was watching one of your interviews on the Rise, and you were talking about how, the NNPC and federal government says that fuel subsidy is gone, so you want to believe that. But there is data that, is being collated by different other people. If you look at the Business Day report, in fact, the one that was released just yesterday talks about petrol returning as subsidy backlog stifles supply. And that's talking about that happening in Lagos, and that might, extend to some other states of the Federation. You've had marketers come out to talk about how there is still subsidy being paid. The World Bank has released a report about, some sort of subsidy still being paid. When the president announced that, subsidy is gone, of course, the sort of prices go up, and it felt like, well, maybe it's gone. But it does look like it's back. If you look at the fact that exchange rates went up in that period, and we've had oil prices also go up. So all of that means that normally this price, if it's controlled by the market, should go up. But we have seen it maintained at a certain rate. So it just shows that it's not the markets dictating it. So I'm going to ask you directly, is subsidy still being paid?
Well, as far as I know, no subsidy is being paid. I asked the same question from NNPC. I said, I will be paying subsidy. And NNPC said, no subsidy is being paid. I understand the way they worked out that, there are so many ways that you can avoid paying subsidy. It depends. But I think the way NNPC even issued a statement saying nobody is paying subsidy.
How can you explain that in the face of the data? Because you can issue the statements, but the data doesn't agree with you. That's just what it is. You cannot have landing costs according to the data of the World Bank.
I've read reports like that in Business Day, in even the unions like Pengason coming out saying, "Oh, subsidy is being paid." Well, I don't know whether anybody can actually feel the shoe more than the person behind it. NNPC is the sole importer of
Why do you think that is, sir? Why do you think NNPC is the sole importer? Because I remember when this issue of fuel subsidy went up, we had Mele Kyari actually come on the air and say that everybody has a level playing field, everybody can import fuel and be able to sell. But we only saw that happen, I think, in the first couple of months. And after that, the importer said that we can't do that anymore because there's no way to compete. We do not have foreign exchange, number one, and the prices are too high. Yeah, but all of a sudden, the NNPC becomes a sole importer.
Produces crude, exports crude, and so on. So you can always.
So they do swaps.
But it's provided for. I think 450,000 barrels of our oil. They do swap with it. So
the NNPC came out to tell us that they had stopped doing that, last year, in August. But data is showing that they obviously still do it. Swapping crude for crude that has so many other elements for just petrol and diesel. Mm. Is that something that at the end of the day is beneficial to us as crude producers in Nigeria?
Well, let me just talk about that subsidy thing. The NNPC that imports fuel says no subsidy.
So we should take them at their word.
Yeah, I think you should believe what they're saying.
Why?
The problem I find in our country is that sometimes we tend to doubt officials. The official said, the NNPC, the sole importer of fuel, said there is no subsidy. So
even when the data says so, we should jettison the data and say, well, he said so. So it's more believable.
Data can be wrong.
Okay, let me ask you, as a person, let's not even start to go through the data and everything. We know that we import fuel, right? because we do not refine as of yet, right? We have, refineries that are supposed to come on stream soon. So we import fuel, and that requires foreign exchange, right? And in the space of the time that the subsidy was declared gone, the president also talked about liberalization of the forex markets, and we saw, the floating and everything that happened. So exchange rate went up. And then we have seen crude oil prices also go up in the market. So if you put those together, knowing that we do not control this price, how can you say that, let's just believe the NNPC at their word? It is obvious that subsidies is still being paid for anyone that can put those two together. It's one plus one makes two, right?
Don't forget that we are not just importing petrol, we also import diesel, we import aviation fuel, kerosene, and all kinds of things. But I think very soon all those things will be things of the past. But NNPC, as I said, is so important. Maybe in balancing their books, they found a way of accommodating whatever increased costs may have come from importing fuel. And instead of passing it on to the consumer, they've absorbed it in their books.
So they're still paying it in some way. They might just not call it subsidy because the last time they told us it was under recovery.
The old subsidy was that the federal government was paying the NNPC for the subsidy. But this time around, this government is not paying NNPC a dime. I said the NNPC have found a way of absorbing whatever cost, whatever additional costs have come from importation since the subsidy was removed. So I believe more in what NNPC tells me. I don't even know the problem of Nigerians, why you guys are always...
it's not the problem. It's about the fact that we have had governments incessantly, not talking about your administration alone. Nigerians, there's a trust deficit between the government and the people. And rightly so, because we have seen failed promises over and over and over and over again. So you can't just expect Nigerians to trust you at your word when you have failed successively. And I'm not talking about your administration alone. The NNPC has been there before your administration, right? So you can't just, Nigerians, just take them at their word. You have to earn that trust, which takes me to the point of accountability for the NNPC, transparency for the NNPC. We had a time when the CBN had their audits published. NNPC has not done that for us. Why is the administration not pushing for that? Especially because the NNPC right now is supposed to be a private company, in quotes, even though the federal government is still the sole shareholder in the company.
No, federal government is sole shareholder.
Has the NNPC gone public?
NNPC is owned by the Nigerian state, the federal, the state.
But it's not supposed to be owned by that because it's supposed to be private now, which means that they're supposed to be able to sell shares and go public.
It's a limited liability company owned by the federal government, the state government, the local councils. They are the owners.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The government is still the...
Yeah, the government is still the owner. I mean, when I say government, not just the federal, the subnationals too.
All of them. Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So if you have that, we're supposed to have some sort of transparency and accountability. We're not saying that now.
I think they've been...
The NNPC hasn't published an audit.
Publishing their...
Do you expect them to audit themselves properly? Just...
Again, I cannot question them. They've been auditing themselves. If there are problems, don't forget we have a minister in charge of the entire economy. So if there are problems, all these things will be found out.
Well, it would have been found out. Let's talk about the Minister of the Economy for 4 minutes, because I talk about him a lot on my show. And it is about the fact that since this administration came in, he's not just a finance minister, he's also the coordinating minister for the economy. And the CBN governor, Dr. Yemi Koduso, he's been very busy. In fact, he's one of those people that I don't even know, because his work rate is amazing, right? And we can see what he's doing. We can see what he has done with the currency and everything. But you cannot solve all the problems in Nigeria with just monetary policies. The fiscal side also has to step up. It doesn't look like that is happening.
No, I think all the people in charge of monetary and fiscal policy, they are all working together under the control of the Minister of the economy, the coordinator of the economy. I think I've seen them holding meetings together so that fiscal policy does not contradict monetary policy. So, and that's why we are seeing the results. Some few weeks ago, everybody was crying in Nigeria, dollar is almost going to 3,000 naira to $1.
That's just the monetary policy.
But
there's nothing from the fiscal side. Nothing. It's just the monetary policy. It's just what the CBN governor has done. You know, the bonds being sold. Yeah, that's a monetary policy. That's what I'm saying. The fiscal policy, where is it? We haven't seen it.
I don't know. The fiscal policy also being done. Taxation, for instance, is fiscal policy. A lot of things, and I can tell you that one is also working. This country is making more revenue than ever before. And you can see government having a lot of dreams about where it wants to take to Nigeria to, because more money is coming in, and government is dreaming big about what you call grand projects, critical projects, infrastructure-wise, that will help to leapfrog our economy to the $1 trillion that the president is talking about. So a lot of things are going on. In fact, the president started with the fiscal policy when he came in by setting up
the tax committee.
A tax committee.
But that's not all the fiscal side.
It's still working. That's not all the fiscal side. I think the last report I got was that they are trying to make sure that all the taxes that we need to pay in Nigeria should not be more than nine taxes. So they are working. A lot of things have been done.
If you say, oh, we blame these people haven't benefited from the oil business. In fact, they have had to undergo degradation of their environment. Hold on, so I will get to the question in a minute. Hold on, I'll get there very shortly. I'll let you respond very shortly.
I don't mean the entire people, only some minority.
Because that sounds like a very general statement.
The bulk of people they are not getting anything from oil.
So when you say
a minority,
thank you for clarifying that.
Very powerful people living in that space.
And it might not just be
who are making money from it, selling crude illegally, and so on.
The current FCT minister, he was the governor for River State, and there was a time that he spoke up during the last administration. I think that was early last year or 2 years ago, and he implicated the security personnel and said that they were the ones who should be held liable, for this, because when you talk about people who have access to be able to ferry these oils, away from the country, they are the ones, because they're the ones charged with security. They are the ones who are colluding. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, sir. Nigerians. Hold on, sir. I will get to the question, because if you say let's blame the people, one of the reasons why
I don't blame the entire people. I say
a few people, a subset. Okay. One of the reasons why a government is elected, or why we have government, is so that systems can be put in place. Now, you can argue that, the government comes from the people or from the society, but every society thrives by rules and laws. One of the things that has thrived in Nigeria is lack of consequences. So if you let people know they can get away with things, they will keep doing it. It's a human nature. It is everywhere. If you know that if you flout the red lights, nothing is going to happen, you will do it. But if you know that that's what Nigerians can go abroad and be well-behaved citizens and, thrive in their careers. And we have a lot of them doing fantastic work there. But some Nigerians, I don't know, you've probably been on the fight before and everybody's well-behaved. They come back to Nigeria and it's a different ballgame because there are no laws. There are no rules. There are laws, but they're not enforced. So if the security people and the government has been elected and the security have been tasked with this, and nobody has been prosecuted, nobody has been identified and sent to jail to other people to see, you can't now blame the people, because the person supposed to do the job has not done his job. And that's why I'm saying the onus is on the government. Who has been prosecuted by the government for pipeline vandalism? Who wasn't prosecuted by the government for stealing crude oil? The NNPC came up to tell us about a pipeline that ran 9 kilometers that they discovered. But till date, we don't have names of people who have been arrested and prosecuted. And it just seems like a ready excuse to not let Nigeria profit from the sale of oil like other oil-producing countries.
I don't agree with you. If you follow the EFCC, they have been countless of times, they've arrested people for oil theft, they've taken them to court, they've jailed some of them, and so on. So it's not that they are not prosecuting. They keep arresting, but it's like a case of mushroom.
I have not seen, because they arrest the little players. They're not arresting the big players, so it doesn't make a dent.
No, the law, they've been arresting them. They've been discovering whatever they did to the oil pipelines and the oil facilities and everything. So some sanctions have been done, but there are so many of these infractions, and honestly, sometimes it amazes me how the extent of sabotage in that part of our country. I say I'm not blaming the entire people of Niger Delta. Many of them are law-abiding citizens, but a few that are involved in this thing. I remember there was a time
So is the government going to take responsibility for this?
Let me give you a story. I think it was Shell. Shell invited us to Port Harcourt and they were briefing us about the oil theft. This is about almost 20 years ago. And he said they arrested some badges. And after a few days, some big men came to them and said, oh, and said, Stiga, blowing ships came and said, they said they arrested some badges, that those badges belong to them, and that they must release them. That's Shell telling us that story. Big people in society. I said, the MD, a white man, said they had to release the badges because they are important people in the society. So
whose failing is that? Whose failing is that? It's the job of government.
This is a bit complicated. You see, the government cannot be killing everybody, saying don't do that.
Kill. Consequences for actions.
Well, as I said, the EFCC, which is in charge of economic sabotage and all these economic offenses, financial offenses, they've been trying to, there have been arrests, there have been prosecutions done by the EFCC.
I don't think it was for oil because the NNPC boss just met with the EFCC boss and said, we need your help.
No, we have a failure,
and asking for collaboration.
We have a failure of security there. I think the last time there was a big fire in one of the oil installations in Imo State. Many people died. And I remember a member of House of Rep who from that area said that there are about 10 or so checkpoints on the way to that facility. So about 10 checkpoints. And so they did not see them, 10 checkpoints, they did not see people going there to steal crude or steal whatever they are stealing from there before the fire. 10. Who are the people manning those checkpoints? Nigerians.
So what happened to them? What happened to them? What happened to those security officials? What happened to them? Well, did they lose their job? Were they court-martialed?
I said what has come out clearly in Nigeria that we've had is a failure of security. A failure of security. And that was all led to NNPC to hire Tita, so a private security firm to do the job. And when that non-state actor took over, you can see the uptick in the production of crude. It has gone up.
But I'm still going to ask you now, sir.
It's now going to about 1.75 or so.
No, it hasn't gotten there. I said yes, it was about 1.4 something.
Well,
let me still zero down on my question, sir, because you are saying that is a failure of security officials. The commander-in-chief of armed forces is the president. If the security officials are not performing, it behoves in him to take the necessary steps. So if you are saying it's a failure of security, they answer and report to someone. If you are not taking action in them, that responsibility is yours. And the buck always definitely stops at the president's table. So what is it doing to make sure that the security officials, because this is Nigeria's moneymaker. There's supposed to be an emergency in that sector. The Nigerian government doesn't have money to carry out the things that it wants to do. This is the easiest way for you to get the money. All other oil countries are smiling to the bank, but we can't do the same. Isn't this supposed to be an emergency?
Well, I don't know. What I know is that the present government is bothered about this problem that's happening in Niger Delta, even despite the previous government setting up the Niger Delta Development Commission to develop Niger Delta and so on. There's still this feeling there, right there by some people. I'm not saying all the people, but some people, a sense of entitlement that, oh, this oil belongs to us. It's our property. That we can do anything we want to do with oil. So when you have that kind of sentiment in that place,
you're still pushing the blame to the people.
So it becomes a real problem.
How is the government going to take responsibility for this? You can't blame the people when you're not doing the job you're hired to do.
You can see the companies operating there. Some of them are living onshore, drilling.
So who is supposed to fix that? It's my question. Who is supposed to fix that? Is it not the government?
Look. The companies, the foreign companies, they are IOCs. They are living.
Exactly.
They prefer now to do
offshore. Yes.
They are giving those things to Nigerians. The ones they are living, Nigerians, they have take over. So maybe you can relate more with your people. You see, the feeling, this is started from the feeling that by some of our people there that, look, this oil belongs to us. These foreigners come and in collaboration with Nigerian government, they come, they explore the oil, they take the oil, they make the money. We don't see.
But are they wrong?
And things like that. I say it's a sentiment. They are partially right that some of this didn't happen. But you also know that even when from 1999 we've had about 13% derivation of oil revenue going to the states producing oil. What people have been saying is that the people in Nigeria should be asking their governors, what are they doing?
But let's talk about environmental pollution. I don't want to get into the Niger Delta story because that is an entirely different conversation. Because we can now start talking about the environmental degradation that has happened there. We can start talking about the Ogoni cleanup that somehow has never taken off, even though it has been inaugurated and launched several times by the former administration. This administration has not even talked about it once since it got in, and that is still a present danger to the people of the Niger Delta. But I don't want to talk about that. I'm talking about the fact that at the end of the day, this is your money maker. You can blame the people all you want, but if you're not setting up the apparatus to check it, it is your failing. The buck stops at the president's table.
I think the government has been doing that.
How is still not making money?
Trying to engage the people there. That, look, this oil pipeline, gas pipeline, is our collective property. Keep it. It passes through your territory. Keep it. So they've been doing that. They've been doing all this sensitization. The NNPC and some of these other companies, they are doing a lot of things in terms of corporate responsibility, whatever they call it, trying to make sure that at least they let the people have a feel of the whatever they derive from oil. And they'll be doing it. They're doing a lot of that. And you can see so many problems in Niger Delta. You see what happened in Okwama recently, the killing of our soldiers and so on. It has a connection with oil. And see, I don't know, sometimes I even pity the government, how to address things like this. The military moved in and said, you kill soldiers, blah, blah. I can see the counter
and the counterattacks and the reprisal attacks. You say you pity the government. Well, you asked for the job. You can't not ask to be pitied. You asked for the job. It's your job.
No, I think government will continue to engage with the people, appeal to them, to continue. I said the problems are emanating not from the entire people, just from.
But so my question is, from security officials that do this, that you realize they're colluding, or like the example that you gave in Imo, the 10 checkpoints. What happens to the security officials? Why is an example not made of them so other people know that they cannot do the same thing? Because what we have seen in Nigeria is that there's lack of consequences. That's why, because you talked about that, and then, everybody just moves on, and the next security officials can go there, do exactly the same thing. Nothing happens, and it's just another conversation, and we just talk about it and move on. There has to be example made if you want that to stop.
Well, I think I will report I've said before, every time the EFCC makes arrests, people are being arrested, people are being prosecuted. So I think that goes on every time. I
would say one thing, sir, that people don't reward efforts, people reward results. So you can say the government is working, but if it is not felt, it feels like there's nothing being done. It's just the way human beings are.
No, I don't agree with you. Even the Navy, despite the problems of the security not doing its work, we've read reports of Navy seizing.
I'm burning them. Why do you burn our crude oil? That is ours.
We have to have.
You should not burn it.
Yeah, I think
you should ask the Navy. You're the presidency. You should ask them. The answer to the president. Why are they burning our resources?
They burn the badges or whatever, the oil ship, whatever, so they will not have another ship to go and.
Yeah, but they always have another. Let's talk about the CMG buses very quickly, sir. So when is that coming on stream?
Which one?
The CMG buses that was promised as palliatives.
I think you see people make a statement that the CNG buses are available on the shelf. They have been built. I'm very sure that before the first anniversary of this government, we are going to have the buses in the country. The government is not just bringing in buses. The government also is bringing in three tricycles. We have plenty of them. Over 10,000 of them, and also thousands of buses that they want to bring in.
So you're saying that by the first anniversary, that is May 29th?
I think so.
Next month.
According to the last meeting we had, the feeling was that we are in April now, before the end of May, we should have some of the buses in the country.
Okay.
and also the tricycles.
Interesting. We're going to talk about election subsidy as we wrap up, but I can open up the phone lines right now. 0817-288-7943 or 0902-199-9943. Those are the numbers to call. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0909-697-5943. So let's talk about the election subsidy very, very quickly. I mean, you gave an interview to Reuters talking about how this is supposed to save the government 1.1 trillion naira, in the categories of the different bands, for people to pay more. You talked about how there's so much subsidy that the government cannot cover, because of lack of revenue. And that's why, this was done. But there are Nigerians saying, hold on, why are we paying so much? Even in some other countries, people get subsidies, for energy, for fuel. It feels like what the government is doing is taking out every kind of subsidy that the people enjoy and telling the people, you know what, suffer a while. So, and they're wondering, do you want us to die before we enjoy whatever it is you say you're working on?
Well, let me see. As Nigerians, I think we should be thankful to God we are Nigerians.
We should?
Yeah. Some people believe that Nigeria is so horrible and so, but I don't think so. There are so many things we enjoy in our country.
We do?
If we start from fuel, petrol, go to our neighboring countries and try to find out the cost of fuel. You are saying now that, we are subsidizing. I cannot confirm whether we are subsidizing or not. The NNPC says no subsidies, so I believe in NNPC. But check around. There's nowhere around us where fuel is being sold for less than 2,000 naira or so.
Are they oil producers, all of them?
They are not all oil producers.
Exactly. Oil producers, they don't sell at the rate that we're selling. Ghana is an
oil producer.
Not as much as Nigeria.
Well,
and they discovered oil not too long ago.
Nigeria is an oil producer.
So when we're comparing ourselves to Ghana
is about 2,000
and Nigeria, why are you not comparing yourself to Kuwait and Angola and Saudi Arabia? They also oil producing states.
And Qatar. Even Angola, a liter of fuel is more expensive in Angola than in Nigeria.
As of now,
so that's why I say we should be thankful.
Maybe before.
We should be thankful that we are Nigerians, that we live under this space. Electricity, the same. Just Google it. Find out the cost of the tariff of power per kilowatt hour. Nigeria is among the countries where it is the lowest. I'm not even talking about I'm just about the cost. It's about the lowest. I mean, the cost that they offer to Nigerians. What government has done is to say, look, you cannot say you have ended one subsidy, that's fuel, petrol, and then you open up another subsidy. This year alone,
you're not opening it up. It's always been there.
Wait, this year the government budgeted 450 billion for power
electricity subsidy.
And government now found that every month it needed to cover about 250 billion for subsidy for electricity subsidy, and it's projected that by the end of the year we need about 3-point-something trillion to pay for subsidy. And government said, no, let's do something. Let's try to tame this before it becomes another monstrosity like the fuel subsidy.
Let me take this call very quickly.
That's why government said, let's target only 15%. Usually, those 15%, I live in an estate where you are band A. In Durumi, you are band A. And since I got there, I always check my meter and I find, if I put on my AC, my credit is gone. So I'm now more careful. I don't just turn. If I'm not in the room, I will not turn on any AC. So, but I think the thing is this: what government is asking those 15%, those on band A of whatever, all the discos and everything, is to pay not commercial rate, but cost reflective rate. Cost reflective.
Let's have a 250% increase. You're saying it's not commercial rate; it's just cost reflective.
It's not even commercial; it's cost reflective.
So you're saying that if it was going to be commercial, it would have been much higher.
To be much higher.
So let's talk about the fact that Nigeria has a way of always comparing and saying, Nigerians, you actually should be grateful because, in this place and that place and that place, places like the UK, they do energy subsidies, but we don't talk about those people. We talk about the ones that don't do it. But let's also talk about the fact that in the spaces that you talk about, they probably have more money when you're talking about the minimum wage or you're talking about, inflation rate, not being as high. So people have money left over to do other things. In Nigeria, it's not the case. Inflation is almost 30%. right? As at now,
Inflation.
29.9%. Hold on, sir. And then you have minimum wage still at 30%. Yes, there's a committee deliberating on that. They've been deliberating for a very long time. So if you look at that and then you look at the exchange rate, you cannot rightly say that, oh, Nigerians should be grateful. A lot of Nigerians cannot even afford food. Bag of rice is about 88,000 naira. So the average family earning 30,000 cannot even purchase rice for their children. They cannot purchase bread, which is now 1,200 naira for a loaf of bread. So if you're saying, oh, Nigerians should be grateful, you're not asking them to pay more for power, asking them to pay more for fuel, asking them to pay more for goods coming in because you are a largely import-dependent country, and you say, oh, you should be grateful. Isn't that, just taking the people for a ride?
No. You don't get what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this tariff increase affects only Band A. Other bands, there are five bands. Those in Band B, people who receive less than 20 hours of power every day, Band B, or maybe 16 hours a day, and other ones like that, they are going, no tariff has changed. So
if people observe and they realize that they don't get up to 20 hours and they're being billed like that, they can sue. What can they do?
They can report to the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, say, these people are charging us Band A, but they're not giving us 20 hours of power.
Okay, I need to take at least one call
before I let
you go.
We take some action over that.
Classic FM?
Good afternoon, please.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. What's your name?
I know you are doing a good job there. My name is
All right, go ahead.
I was saying to that man there, as a girl there, there's nothing to say that was right. This government are just trying to show up.
They're trying to what?
They're just trying to show up. You hide the fuel, now you hide the electricity, no security, insecurity everywhere, people dying every day. You just sit down there. How much is the bag of rice now? 80,000. Somebody getting 30,000, will he buy that? How will people survive? He's just sitting there. He's okay with his family. I'm very sure his children are not in schooling. That's why everybody should be over there in the US and bring our own money.
Well, we don't know that for sure, and I'm pretty sure that I can respond to you. Thank you very much, Sonny. Because of time, I have to let you go, but thank you for expressing your views. And with the truth of the matter is, there are a lot of Nigerians who are angry because they cannot afford the basics that they used to be able to, afford. Do you blame them for that?
I appreciate that. I empathize with our people. I must say, I share their sentiments, what they are talking about. And that's why government is reviewing wages, minimum wage to go up, definitely. Government is introducing social security for the unemployed so that they can get some money, so that they can survive, and so on. Government is doing a lot of things to offering so many palliatives. And even the electricity we are talking about, this thing is affecting just 15%. It's not affecting the majority of our people. 15%.
But there's the idea that the 50% can afford it.
They consume 40% of the power.
There's the idea that they can afford it. Here's the thing: until we can actually also, you think they can? You think so?
They can afford it. They can afford it.
You're sure of that?
Afford it.
Okay.
I'm among the 15%. I've told you what I will do normally. Instead of just turning on my AC all the time, if I'm not in the room, I shut down my AC. So I will minimize my consumption.
Okay, so let me just quickly read this message as we wrap up. It says, hi, Faith and Classic FM and your guests. Please, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, you have provided interest-free loans to your students. Can your administration create a similar interest-free loan and houses to willing farmers to help tackle the rising cost of food prices and food insecurity? Is the government doing something on that?
Well, I'm not sure it's an interest-free loan. I think there's some element of interest in the loan, some charges in the loan, but the good thing is that it's a very liberal loan, open to all Nigerian students.
It's talking about for farmers. Can you create a similar interest-free loan and houses to willing farmers so that we can tackle cost of food security, food prices, and food insecurity?
This government is doing a lot of farmers already.
But they can't go to the farm because of insecurity. So what are you doing with that?
Security.
Yes, because a lot of farmers can go to the farms.
Well, that's not true. I just came back from a trip to Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna State.
So you're saying that we don't have
in Jigawa.
insecurity.
Jigawa is doing a lot in agriculture, a lot.
So how come we have food inflation at over 35%?
They are planting wheat. They are planting a lot of things, and it's an agricultural state.
Farmers have come out to say they can't go to the farm because of insecurity. You're saying it's not true.
Don't let us generalize. Not all the farmers.
But you said that's not true. You generalize as well.
No. What I'm saying, not all the farmers say they cannot go to the farm. I just came back from Jigawa. They are farming.
What about the places that cannot go to the farms? Places in Plateau State and Benue State.
There are some places like that.
Punch released a report last month about 165 farmers, killed in just this year alone. So if you say, oh, that's not true, there are reports that actually support this.
We're not saying it's not true that farmers have been killed in some states. What I'm saying is that there are some states that are not bedeviled by the issue of security. I mentioned Jigawa. I mentioned Kano. They are farming. There's no problem about security at all.
Benue State is the food basket of the nation.
Benue, so it's also Jigawa.
And they're going through this.
Also Jigawa, but what I'm saying is that government, every time is trying to tackle all these problems. As we are talking, some of the states are investing in forest guards to make sure that at least the farmers are protected. The government is also doing a lot of things to ensure that Nigerians are protected wherever they may be.
So there are similar interest-free loans for farmers, like he asked?
Well, farmers have been pampered in this country. They are getting a lot of things from government. Just recently, the CBN released about $100 billion naira worth of fertilizer to farmers. And there are so many facilities for farmers to enjoy as farmers. And I think this is the best time for farmers in our
Does the government take food inflation seriously? We're about 35%.
But that's why the government in November last year launched the dry season farming, and heavily subsidized it. That's what we want to look at in Jigawa. Farmers who who got this subsidy are farming, and I think the harvest has even begun in Jigawa State and some other states, Kebbi and so on. So farmers are being taken care of. Because the government when Tinubu came in, he declared food emergency.
Yes, there was a food committee set up, but they haven't come up with a report just yet. Because I've been monitoring that.
To encourage farming. So many things have been done to encourage farming.
So we need to have food inflation come down first before we can say that you're doing something.
Food inflation will come down as all these harvests come in and people will begin to see that the food prices are coming down. The problem you've mentioned yourself, the problem we have in our country is that many of our people have low income. They don't have disposable income. That's why they feel the problem. We don't lack food. There's plenty of food in Nigeria.
You say so?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of food.
Because of that, we can dive into that. We have to wrap up now.
Wonder, for instance, all these trucks of rice, trucks of grains, where are they coming from? They are not imported. They are here. When people were talking about food, there was even pressure on the president that, you should begin to import food. The president, no, I'm not going to import food. You can grow
because you can also look at the issue of the agricultural value chain. So it's not just about growing the food, it's about storage, it's about transportation. All of these things come into place. Food goes to waste in Nigeria because they're not stored properly. Food goes to waste because before the trucks coming, the roads are bad. They take days and some of them are bad already. So at the end of the day, the person buying it has to sell it at a higher cost. So it's not just about, the food is there. You have to look at the entire value chain.
I can tell you in the last few months, the states are getting more involved in agriculture. It's not everything is just being left for federal government. So the states are getting more involved, and as they get more involved, they begin to solve a lot of these problems about storage, about
transportation,
and so on.
So I can task you to it in the next few months. You say in the next few months we'll see things start changing because of the dry season farming that the government took interest in. So we will just watch, and then I can check with you.
Things are improving.
Did you go to the market recently, sir?
Prices are.
How do you know?
Prices are not as expensive as before.
Are you sure? Did you go to the market?
I go.
When was the last time you went?
I go.
I want to know the last time you went to the market.
Well, I cook and I buy things in the market.
People buy it for you.
From what I read, prices are coming down.
I go to the market regularly. It hasn't come down. No, it hasn't. But thank you so much for your time. We'll check back in a few months, right? Thank you for coming. I've been speaking with the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. Stay with Classic FM 94.3 Abuja, the station that plays every song you know. My name is Faith, and yes, we are thanking God It's Friday.